Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. Today is a very important editorial because today, again, I'm going to speak about Indian middle class. Because today, again, I'm going to speak about loans. Because today, again, I'm going to speak about EMIs. And today, again, I'm going to speak about people who are suffering to furnish their bank loans. And today, again, I would request my viewers to please ensure that this editorial is shared with as many people as possible, especially people, like I said, who are struggling with their EMIs. Today, I have got three distinguished gentlemen. Akhilesh Bhargav, who will talk to us about the RBI guidelines to the bank relating to EMIs and loans. Second, I have got Ashish Ahuja, senior advocate, one of the top corporate lawyers, who will tell us what are the steps that one can take to ensure that you avail of these benefits that RBI has earmarked. And the third, I talk to DIG of police, Mr. Nisar Tambuli, and understand from him as to what can one do if recovery agents come to our doorsteps, troubles us mentally, physically. How can police help us? What are the steps that we should be taking? So this is my show today. Let's get right into the show. So first, let's discuss what are the guidelines that RBI has issued to banks regarding EMIs, regarding loans, and regarding restructuring of loans. How is RBI trying to help the general public, the middle class of India, to ensure that they have some respite and some time to pay back their loan? So I will ask Akhilesh to explain this to us. Akhilesh Bhargav.
While the Reserve Bank is very clear that do not use any abusive practices, ground reality, I would agree, turns out to be pretty otherwise. The RBI also is very clear, give us sympathetic consideration to defaulting borrowers, unless of course they are willful defaulters or fraudulent borrowers. Otherwise, any default of a bank loan is to be seen with a sympathetic manner, and banks have been advised to appoint counselors to help defaulters to explain to them how their loan account can be resolved. That is in the matter of the RBI circular for recovery. When it comes to options before a borrower, when a default has taken place, the options that are available in order to prevent any coercive recovery process through agents or to courts is, of course, go to the bank, sit down, explain your situation, explain your bona fides, and try to negotiate a settlement to the minimum possible in the matter of payment of dues, which is what we call a one-time settlement of dues. It is easy said than done, because even when you do a one-time settlement, you have to pay money to the banks, and that is not so easy. Otherwise, the default would not have taken place. In case the account has not really turned NPA completely and it is substandard, there is an option still of ensuring that there is a restructuring of bank loans, which is what is happening big time in India today, because the RBI recognizes, the government recognizes that there have been huge defaults in bank loans because of the ongoing pandemic, the lockdown and disruption that has taken place. I would advise every borrower to go and get a realistic restructuring of their loans done so that defaults are avoided. They get more time for repaying their loans, and those restructuring should be done in such a way that they coincide with the revival of their business activities, such that when repayments are due, cash flows are also coming from their businesses.
So these are the guidelines that RBI has issued to the banks. Banks are supposed to adhere to these guidelines. Now, what happens if the bank do not adhere to these guidelines? What happens if the bank is not willing to give you time? What happens if the bank is not listening to you? What do you do then? I spoke to senior advocate Ashish Ahuja, who is one of the top corporate advocates in Mumbai, from Wadia Gandhi and Associates. And this is what he had to say. This is the solution he has given us. Hear this out.
Not only the government, but even the Reserve Bank of India has gone ahead and recognized that COVID too has its own impact, and the RBI has actually written out a scheme which is meant for all the small individual borrowers as well, and they have sent out a scheme to each of the banks and financial institutions, telling them that look, you can do a COVID 2.0 scheme with each of your borrowers who are unable to pay and who are having some level of difficulty. And they have permitted not only a kind of a restructuring with them, but they have also permitted, sometimes if you need some additional working capital as well, some sort of additional working capital facilities also can be provided in some situations. And in this kind of a restructuring, the reason why banks don't like restructuring is because if you do a restructuring, they will take an impact on their balance sheet. So, that non-performing asset kind of impact. Here the scheme allows you to actually take only a 10% kind of an impact. So therefore, from that perspective, the banks also are not heavily hit by, giving this scheme. And this scheme, I think, since RBI has actually mandated that every bank should have come out with a policy, let's say within a period of 1 month from the date of the circular which RBI has, sent out, which was, I think, ending around June 5th or something. So most banks and financial institutions have come up with a scheme on this basis. So there's no reason to be despondent and, troubled at these points of time. You should not be really scared about anything. It's, because the RBI is with you, the, Reserve Bank of India itself is trying to allow banks to, everyone recognizes these are difficult times. And you should not be scared. Just reach out to your, banker or whoever they can to and ask them, tell them that I need some help. I'm not able to kind of meet my actual requirements because of various reasons. Once they have assessed your real, genuine need, banks will actually go ahead and the NBFCs will actually go ahead and provide you this kind of restructuring scheme, because that will also help from the perspective to make sure that, your small business or your small life also, kind of survives. They can give you money and, it can be repaid even 1 year later, because you may expect profit to come 2-3 months later based on, how the economy picks up. We may also give you sometimes a 2 years moratorium, which is also permitted under the new COVID 2.0 scheme. So different mechanisms are kind of built into the scheme for you to get a benefit of this. So if you actually genuinely reach out to your banks, I know collection agents will always come to your door and request you to kind of make payment, but reach out to your banks. If you reach out to your banks and your institutions and tell them I need this, there's no reason for them not to provide it. Most of us are small borrowers in that sense, right? And by sending a notice, it sometimes doesn't get heard of. Maybe the simpler mechanism is because every banker is also guided by the RBI ombudsman. There's an ombudsman who has been created at the RBI level. Some sort of a letter to the ombudsman informing them that, look, this is the issue which I've raised with them and they're not providing me the benefit under the COVID 2.0 scheme will bring better results, because, when the RBI gets some letters of that sort, they will direct it back to the bank to, take action and, provide necessary, steps. So writing to the RBI may be a easier and a simpler option rather than going and filing a legal complaint, because if you go and file some sort of a legal complaint, I need the benefit, etc., it's not necessary that, a court can really help you with these kind of things, right? So the RBI is the better forum. But if if it comes to that and you're entitled under the scheme, they're not giving it to you, but it's more complex to do a litigation and you end up spending much more money in that process, because you don't even, at the end of the day, you're already a small borrower. So writing to the RBI, in my view, is the best option. It will kind of, help clear the issue to a large extent and help you save your own costs. There's an ombudsman department, OMBUDSMAN. Okay. And if you search for the RBI ombudsman, most bank websites as well as the RBI website will give you details of the ombudsman and how to reach out to them. So from the website of the RBI, you'll be able to pull out the details of the RBI ombudsman.
So we heard what the RBI guidelines are. We also understood what happens if the banks do not adhere to the RBI guidelines. What are the steps we can take? We understood that. Now let us understand that what if the banks or the recovery agents continues to trouble you? How do you approach the police? And what is the assistance that you can expect from the police? I've also asked Nisar Tambuli to tell us whether will police ever call us to ask for EMIs or to arrest us because we have not paid loans. Does that happen? This is what he had to say.
Sujit, you have all the right to go to the police station and lodge the complaint, and that's very much within the ambit of law to complain against whoever is troubling you for the EMI or for any reason, for any kind of recovery also. You can lodge the complaint and police station will register the complaint. There is nothing like refusal of complaint. I do agree that such refusals do happen time and again, and sadly so. But then, Sujit, there are higher ups, there are senior officers to the police station also. There is DYSP, or we call ACP, there is DCP, There are higher ups. SPs are there in the rural districts, and a complainant can definitely go and lodge their complaint. They also can call 100 directly, call for the help at control room, and control room definitely will give them help. If any unwanted person is coming to their home for recovery, they can call for help, and police will go to their home and help them. No, this does not fall into the functions of police, and police will never call you for non-payment of EMI. The banks can call, the banks can seek your explanation, or they can send you a notice, or any financial institute can do that, but not police. This is not the job of the police to do that. And if any police calls any complainant regarding EMIs or anything like this, the complainant should seek advice of senior officer.
So now you understood the RBI guidelines. Now you understood what happens if the bank doesn't adhere to the RBI guidelines, and you also understood what assistance that you can expect from police, and what do you do if the police does not cooperate with you. So this is what you understood till now. Now let me conclude today's editorial. First and foremost is, it is always imperative that you approach your bank, write to your bank like the experts told you. The second thing is, please keep your family and friends informed about your predicament. Do not try to handle it alone. That is dangerous and that's not good for you. Because if you talk to people about your problems, you never know where the help comes from. So please talk to people about your problem. And thirdly and finally, it is our responsibility to pay our loans. It is our duty to pay our loans. We cannot run away from that. That being said, there are guidelines that RBI has issued which you can use, which you can make use of and ensure that you buy some time for paying your loans. But at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to pay our loans. Please do not lose hope. Please do not get scared. Please do not get frustrated. There is a system in our country still available that is there to protect you. There is a system that is still available to ensure that nobody makes your life a living hell. Till I see you next time. Namaskar.
पता है, इन सब लोगों में एक चीज कॉमन है। गैस करिए क्या? नहीं पता? चलिए एक हिंट देती हूँ। ये सब आपके परिवार से जुड़े हैं। अरे, फिर भी नहीं पहचाना आपने इन्हें? चलिए कोई बात नहीं। वैसे भी ये लोग पर्दे के पीछे ही तो काम करते थे। इन सब की डेथ हो गई है कोविड से, ताकि आप और आपका परिवार सेफ रह सके। और यही तो है परिवार का मतलब, अपनों की रक्षा करना। जो हमारे लिए जान दे सकते हैं वो अपने सगे नहीं तो फिर कौन है? मुंबई पुलिस।